I'm sitting on the bathroom floor at 11 p.m. because I cheated on my perfect husband, and I can't even explain why. I don't know how to start this, so I'm just going to start. 3 weeks ago, I slept with someone who wasn't my husband. Not because my marriage was broken. Not because he hurt me. Not because I was lonely or neglected or any of the things that might make this make sense. I did it anyway. And now I'm sitting on the bathroom floor at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, writing this to strangers on the internet because I genuinely don't know what else to do. My name doesn't matter. I'm 41. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I have a good job. I'm a regional sales director for a medical device company. I make good money. I stay in shape. I take care of myself. And I have a husband named Daniel. Daniel is 43. He's a civil engineer. Calm, steady, the kind of man who plans things 3 steps ahead and somehow never makes you feel controlled by it. He's not flashy. He doesn't post on social media. He coaches youth soccer on Saturday mornings because he just genuinely likes kids and communities and showing up for things. We met when I was 29 and he was 31. Got married when I was 31. No kids, by choice, mutually agreed, no resentment on either side. We travel. We have friends. We have a house in a neighborhood we actually like. We still sleep in the same bed. We still talk at dinner. We still laugh at the same stupid things. There was no dead bedroom. There were no blowout fights. There was no neglect, no cruelty, no slow suffocation. I want to be very clear about that, because I think people are going to look for a reason. A justification. Something that would explain this. There isn't one. And that is the thing that is eating me alive. It happened in Nashville. I was there for a 3-day national sales conference, the kind where you're in a Marriott conference room from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. listening to presentations about Q3 targets and go-to-market strategy, and then everyone goes out for dinner and drinks afterward because that's just what you do. The first 2 nights, I called Daniel before bed. We talked about normal things. He'd started rewatching a series we'd watched together, which sounds like nothing but actually made something pull in my chest, the idea of him alone on the couch, watching our show. The 3rd night, a group of us went to a bar on Broadway. I was tired. I was also, if I'm being honest, kind of high on the week. The presentations had gone well, my regional numbers were strong, people kept complimenting me on the client strategy I developed. I felt, for a few hours, like a version of myself that was very much on. That's not an excuse. I'm just trying to be accurate. His name was Connor. He was 31, a marketing consultant from Atlanta who'd been brought in for the conference. He was confident without being arrogant, or at least, he performed that distinction well enough that I couldn't tell the difference at the time. He was funny. He listened in a way that felt specific to me, though I'm sure now it was just a skill he had. I knew I was drinking too much. I knew what the conversation was becoming. I knew, at a certain point, exactly where the night was going. And I chose to let it go there anyway. I'm not going to describe what happened. It doesn't matter, and it also doesn't help. What I will say is that the moment it was over, I felt nothing that resembled what I'd expected to feel. No high. No relief. No whatever I must have been chasing. Just a very immediate, very sober clarity about what I had just done. I went back to my hotel room. I sat on the edge of the bed for probably 40 minutes. I texted Daniel something ordinary, heading to bed, long day, miss you, and I hated myself for every word of it. I didn't sleep. The flight home the next morning was 2 hours and 15 minutes. I spent most of it staring at the tray table trying to figure out why. Not what happened, I knew what happened. Why? Was I unhappy? No. Was I bored? I didn't think so. Was there something missing with Daniel? I couldn't name it. What I kept coming back to, the thing I couldn't stop turning over, was this: somewhere in those weeks leading up to Nashville, I had started feeling old. Not old in a dramatic way. Not a crisis with a capital C. Just a quiet, creeping awareness that I was 41, that my body was changing in ways I couldn't fully control, that the window of being the kind of woman that a room responds to was maybe not closing but definitely not infinite. That some version of my life was behind me now. And Connor made me feel, for about 3 hours, like that wasn't true. That is so pathetically small as a reason for what I did that I almost can't type it. But I think it's the truth. It wasn't about him. It was never about him. It was about me needing to believe something about myself that I should have been able to believe without proof. And I used him, and I used my marriage, to test a hypothesis that never needed testing. I told Daniel 4 days after I got home. I know some people would say don't tell. That it would only hurt him. That what he didn't know wouldn't kill him. I couldn't do that to him. I couldn't sit across from him at dinner, laughing at something on TV, while carrying that. He deserved to know. Even if it destroyed everything. So on a Sunday afternoon, while he was reading in the living room, I sat down across from him and I told him. I told him everything. Nashville. Connor. All of it. I didn't minimize. I didn't reframe. I just said what happened. He didn't yell. I almost wished he had. He put his book down. He looked at me for a long moment. His face did something I had never seen it do before, a kind of slow, quiet collapse, like something structural had given way inside. And then he asked me one question. Did I not give you something you needed? I told him no. That it wasn't about him. That there was nothing he'd done or failed to do. He nodded slowly, like he was filing that information somewhere, and then he said he needed some time to think. He slept in the guest room that night. He's been sleeping in the guest room for 3 weeks. Here's what living with a devastated man who loves you actually looks like. In case you've never had the experience of earning it, he still talks to me. He's not cold, exactly. He answers questions. He asks about my day. He makes coffee in the morning and leaves a cup on the counter for me because that's what he's done for 10 years and apparently habits survive even this. But he doesn't touch me. Doesn't reach for my hand. Doesn't appear in doorways the way he used to. The small, constant, unconscious physical language of a long marriage, it's just gone. He doesn't bring it up. Doesn't ask for details. Doesn't cry in front of me. I've seen him cry exactly once in 10 years, when his dad died, in the hospital parking lot, briefly, and then he pulled himself together. He is a man who processes privately. I always respected that about him. Now I experience it as a kind of slow punishment, though I know that's unfair to him. He isn't punishing me. He's just surviving. I made an appointment with a therapist the week after I confessed. I've been twice. She's good. She asks questions I don't have answers to yet. I asked Daniel if he'd be willing to come with me, to try couples counseling. He said he wasn't ready, but he didn't say no. I hold on to that. I don't know if I should. What I'm struggling with, what I can't seem to work through on my own, and what my therapist keeps gently redirecting me toward, is the question of who I am now. Because here is the thing I keep running into. I was not a person who would do this. I know how that sounds. Everyone who does something terrible thinks they were not that person. But I'm not saying I'm a good person who made one bad choice and therefore deserves a pass. I'm saying that the version of myself I had understood for 41 years did not include this. And now she does. And I don't know what to do with the gap between who I thought I was and who I apparently am. I've been trying to sit with the vanity of it. The smallness. That I risked a decade of a genuinely good marriage because I needed a 31-year-old to look at me like I was interesting. That is, I don't have a better word, pathetic. And I own that. I'm not asking anyone to soften it. But I also keep thinking about the fact that nobody talks about this particular flavor of midlife spiral. The one that doesn't come from misery. The one that comes from comfort and stillness, and the quiet terror of realizing that your life might be mostly behind you and you don't know if you made the right choices even when you can't point to a wrong one. That's not a justification. It's an observation. There's a difference. Daniel hasn't asked me to leave. He hasn't said the word divorce. We exist in this suspended state that feels, honestly, worse than a fight would. At least a fight would be motion. This is stillness. A held breath. I've told him I'm sorry more times than I can count. He says, I know, every time, with a kindness that makes it harder, not easier. Last week I came home and he was on the back porch with a beer, watching the yard. Just sitting there. I stood in the doorway for a moment before he heard me, and I saw him the way you sometimes see someone you love when they don't know you're watching, not performing anything, just existing, and I felt something so sharp it was almost physical. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose us. But I also understand, for the first time, that wanting something you damaged is not the same as deserving to keep it. I'm posting this at almost midnight. Daniel is in the guest room. I can see the light under the door. I don't know what I'm asking for. I think I just needed to say all of it out loud to people who don't know us, who don't have a stake in how this ends, who might just tell me something true. What I do know is this: I have a therapy appointment Thursday. I've given Daniel full transparency, my phone, my email, no questions refused. I've stopped drinking. Not dramatically, not as punishment, just because I think I've been using it to avoid sitting with myself, and I need to stop doing that. And every morning, I come downstairs and there's a cup of coffee on the counter. He still makes me coffee. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means anything. But I notice it every single day. If you've been through something like this, either side of it, I'd really like to hear from you. Not absolution. I'm not looking for that. Just honesty. Is there a way back from something like this when the marriage itself wasn't broken? Or does the fact that it wasn't broken make it worse?